JJ!
Hi, I'm Matt Sargent with ABC Acres. With me today is Tim Southwell, owner-operator. And over the last month or so, we've had a few requests just to get to know us a little bit and how we got where we are. So we're just going to ask each other some of these questions back and forth. And you look cold, Tim.
It's a bit chilly this morning. It's a bit chilly. Got the mic on?
Yeah, it should be, yeah.
Okay, good.
So how did you get interested in permaculture?
Interested in permaculture, that's a great question. Always into organics, always into trees and plantings, but I was into organic rows and monocultures. I was introduced to permaculture back in 2011 by my friend Grant Shadden. Took my PDC in the fall of 2011 and my mind was blown. From there I didn't look at any landscape the same again, and here we are 5 years later.
I've often wondered what happened to your mind.
What about yourself? How did you get interested in permaculture?
You know, a similar path. Was always very in tune with nature, loved spending all my time outdoors, very active, thought I was healthy. My wife became a holistic nutritionist. We started looking more at the food. The more I looked at food, the more I realized how skewed things were. Read Gaia's Garden. Next thing I know, I'm taking a PDC with Mark Shepard and working on a farm.
And here you go. It's just been up and up and up. This is almost a pinnacle.
Yeah, exactly. We are trying to keep these short and quick. But yeah, what would you say is the most challenging part of a farm operation?
There's no doubt. The most challenging part is to understand that you're not in control. And that's easy for me to say, but it's hard to do. Matt knows firsthand I'm a control freak. You think with 3 children I'd learn that control does not exist, but that is the reality of it. Things always happen you never expect, morning to night, and so you do your best to juggle them, but that is definitely the most challenging thing, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'll agree. I find that that is definitely challenging. I'm not quite as much of a control freak as you are. To me, I think the most challenging part of farming is the social context. 1, employee relations, getting good help, and 2, marketing goods. But that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But you know, getting people to value what we do, because we do, and it is valuable.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
If you could give Tim in 2011 a piece of knowledge that you have now that you didn't have then regarding permaculture or farming, what would it be?
You know, to me, one of the biggest challenges in any business model is being able to define your market. And so over the last 4 or 5 years, we've played with different price points, different offerings. You know, what does our local market bear? What can we do on a national scale? And we're looking at all of those. And so we've ebbed and flowed. We've made mistakes. We've had to take livestock over the winter that we couldn't sell. So, you know, having a clear idea, or the best clarity that one can hope to obtain at the beginning of your endeavor, trying to really understand that market. So that to me is I wish I had a more understanding of the market, so I could go in and be efficient with our implementation of different things.
A crystal ball for the market would be amazing.
Exactly.
I would say the biggest thing I wish I knew at the beginning was a better understanding of the orders of size or scale. Because when I first started farming, before I moved here and I was on my own farm, I was trying to use techniques that you would use in a square-foot garden bed on a 1-acre market garden, and it was a total failure. There was no efficiency, and you know, I found that you don't need monocultures, but you can't really have, you know, 20 carrots planted around, you know, a tomato plant and be able to harvest that with any sort of efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great point.
But yeah, the orders of scale. I believe I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
But on to a fun one. What's the wackiest idea you think you'd like to implement at ABC Acres?
Wackiest idea? You know, I don't know if it's so much wacky as in
or incredibly creative.
Yes, you know, we have learned, again, talking about the things we wish we knew when we started. We have found out here at year 4 or 5 that our strongest revenue source, our strongest market is the farmstead business. We're getting people come and stay on the farm from all parts of the country. And so I'd like to play to that a little more. So I think I talked to you a couple days ago about, wow, wouldn't it be neat to take that lower 16 acres and maybe plant that out into some massive shining maze, human maze, 8-foot wide alleyways, 12-foot tall, 6-foot wide hedges, and then be food hedges, so they can graze. So if they get there and they're lost there for a week, they can,
they can survive when they're lost in the labyrinth.
I also like the idea of a massive zip line, because we do have a little bit of a topography change of about 30 feet from, up on the eastern side to the western side. And could we build a tower and have a zip line? So
maybe grab apples off of the zip line.
Exactly. Something totally wacky and crazy, gearing towards our biggest market. That's what I think I'd do.
I like it.
What about yourself? What's wacky? What are you always thinking?
One thing I've always wanted to do, and it's, maybe not the best business model per se, but I noticed years ago that cattle love foraging on, they love browsing. They like eating leaves, and you turn cattle into the forest and it looks like someone took a hedge clipper to the bottom of the trees. So I'd like to initiate a long-term breeding program for like kind of a long neck cattle, or a meat giraffe, if you will.
Ooh, wow.
I think they'd thrive, especially in a permaculture system. I mean, we see what the tree fodder does and how interested the goats are in the tree hay. Why even harvest the hay if the cattle could self-harvest? But that's a 30-year plan.
Well, no, I agree. 30 years from now, so now you're seeing cattle that have these 5-foot long necks.
Yeah, 5 to 8 feet long. Some people might call it an alpaca, but it's really going to be a cow.
That is wacky.
And before we take off, do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for our viewers?
I do have a word of wisdom, because I am a wise soul. My wife's shaking her head as she watches this now.
Yes.
I had a farm tour this past week, and the young couple they're interested in getting going, and they've been looking at land and what they can afford. And I told them about Curtis Stone's practices in BC, about the fact that, and Jim Garish and his no risk ranching, that there are operators that they're creating a good salary, a good revenue for themselves without owning the land. Yes. And so, word of wisdom is, if you want to get into farming, you want to get into livestock, whatever it is, know that you don't need to go out and invest $100,000 or $200,000 in land and be immediately behind a mortgage payment. There are people, and we've talked to them here on the farm, they want to have cattle on their land just to keep grass down. Well, maybe that's an avenue for you to pick up some cattle and get it on somebody else's. So I would say, don't jump into land acquisition immediately. Again, understand the market, see where there might be a niche to get in there at a low operating cost.
Very, very sage advice.
What did I say?
I was talking about the dog.
Oh, yeah, this is sage.
Yeah. And words of wisdom. Don't get discouraged. It's really easy. You're going to try a lot of different things, whether you're farming, homesteading, even a small square foot garden. You're going to try a lot of things, and a lot of them are going to fail. And it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get overwhelmed. You read a book like Gaia's Garden, and it sounds like, put seeds in the ground and you're going to have this lush, beautiful oasis. It's work, and you have to understand your climate. And there's just a lot of lessons to learn. So enjoy it. Always be planting.
I like that. And I think that's, if I may just interject, for someone just getting started and they see those failures, they could get discouraged and stop.
Yeah.
But we can say, ABC Acres, 5+ years now, we've seen a lot of failures, but those failures have allowed us to create successes, right?
Yeah, and the
problem is the solution.
They were all big lessons.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. There's no failure unless you fail to learn from it.
Or you fail to try to begin with.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Well done. Maybe they learned something?
Hopefully. I guess with that said, thanks for tuning in. As always, we love to hear from you. Any questions or comments, feedback is always welcome. And until next time, happy growing.
Bye now.